Hello Facebook fans, and welcome to Giant Canada's headquarters here on the North Shore in Vancouver in beautiful British Columbia. My name is Paul McCarthy, and joining us today is three-time Canadian cyclocross champion, Mr. Michael Vandenham. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, thanks very much, Paul. I feel like I haven't really seen you or been here in 4 months, so it's great to be able to sit down and have a chat.
Awesome. Michael joined the Giant family at the start of the 2019 cyclocross season with his Eastern Giant team, and is a regular on the European circuit as well as the North American circuit. So before we go any further, let's check out Michael in action in Europe.
Racing in Belgium, it just feels like you're right at the heart of the sport, right where the sport is its strongest and where the people love it the most. In Belgium in the fall, what do you want to do on Sunday or Saturday afternoon? Well, you want to go to the cross race and you want to hang out in the beer garden. You have everyone from young kids running around at the races to grandma and grandpas. You have people who just go because they like the atmosphere, to people that know every single stat about every single rider there. It's explosive, it's high paced, but it's also technical and really, really finessey. My personal opinion is that all combines to make for probably the most exciting cycling discipline to watch. Just, you never really know what's gonna happen, and the course and the conditions can change so much from one weekend to the next. When you're thinking about cross racing, you're thinking about accelerating 20 times a lap for 8 laps over, maybe even more than that. So you don't want to be losing any power when you're sprinting out of all those turns. So having something that's really stiff, incredibly important. When I think about a cross bike though, I also think about something that is pretty much strictly a race bike. There's not extra weight on that. There's not actually bottle cages. There's not fender mounts. You don't need those things. The cross bike, it's a Ferrari of the world. It's not a utilitarian SUV. This is a race bike. I'm late enough in my career to know that I'm probably not going to win a World Cup, and that's totally okay. But I do have ambitions in Europe. I think to improve at something, sometimes you need to throw yourself into the deep end. And for me, throwing myself into the deep end is going to Europe, is racing those World Cups, and seeing what sticks, basically. Every time I come back excited to race more. I come back with new technical skills and probably a new understanding of just what I can accomplish on the bike. So yeah, when I look forward, I do have goals of getting a top 10 in Fayetteville in a couple of years, but I also see Europe as a platform that helps springboard me right to the front of the North American races, helps teach me how to go faster around turns, how to push a little bit harder, how to race in higher pressure situations, and how to win more.
Welcome back. So Michael, that looked particularly challenging there in Belgium. Where did your love for cyclocross begin?
Yeah, so I actually grew up on a farm in rural Manitoba, and I started riding bikes almost by fluke out there, just as a way to get around. Like every kid, I liked being independent from my parents, like being able to do my own things. So I picked up a mountain bike, and I would bike maybe the 10 kilometers into town, and I would stop by the 2 bike shops in town and see what they had, and then sort of bike home. And that just sort of snowballed into starting racing, starting mountain biking, starting working in a bike shop. And then when I moved to Edmonton for university, they had this really, really great cyclocross, local weekday cyclocross scene where there'd be 80 or 100 people out for a Tuesday night race. And I sort of caught on to that and realized that, hey, this sport looks really cool. It's right down the road from me. So I went around to all the bike shops and ended up picking myself up a cyclocross frame. And being the broke university student I was, I took all the parts off my road frame, put them on the cross frame, and then I would do the opposite thing back in the summer. And sort of just fell in love with the sport from there, right? Raced for a couple seasons locally and just sort of got a little bit more into it every single year. Got to the point where I went to my first national championships in Toronto. I want to say that was in 2011, and found a coach there that said, hey, have you ever considered that you might actually be good at this sport? And I was like, well, no. I just want to race my bike. I have no idea that I'm good at this sport. And he sort of said, well, let's work together. Let's get you to the Louisville World Championships, which were the first worlds ever in North America. I want to say that was 2013. Does that sound right? Mm-hmm. Or 2014. So I managed to go there, and then from there I ended up living in New England for a while, ended up moving over and living in Belgium with my wife for a few months. And yeah, it's just sort of just been an incremental rise from being a, kid bike shop bum who just really liked bikes to, racing elite at the local level, to doing national level stuff, to all of a sudden going to Europe and then eventually winning a national championship. I can't say there was one thing that was like I went from here to here, or never like I started out being a super promising junior or anything. It just sort of kept on plugging away and falling in love with the sport.
Did you notice anything from different from when you first started the sport to where you are now, from a point of view of just the community or so?
Yeah, I was really lucky that when I came in, there was a lot of buzz around the Louisville World Championships, and I think the sport was really growing when I started, and I've just kept on seeing that. Some differences though, when I first started racing, like, people didn't really know what the sport was about. They were racing everything, mountain bikes, their commuter bikes, some people had cross bikes, but it was so new. Whereas to the point now where you go to a race and like people sort of have the equipment part of it figured out. People are taking it a little bit more seriously. People have cross bikes, maybe they have tubulars or tubeless tires, they're ready to go. So the sport's definitely matured a lot in the last 10 years since I've been racing it, and people are approaching it with a lot more of a serious mindset.
The TCX has a steep history in cyclocross, with the days of Lars Boom and Lars van der Haar in Europe, and then the American riders Adam Craig and Carl Decker really pushing the limits of what a cyclocross bike can do. The heritage goes a bit further than that, has a cult status. It's a bike that's seen on any race weekend, ridden by top elite riders and amateur riders, or the weekend rider. What attracted you to the TCX itself?
Yeah. So there's actually two kind of distinct memories I have about the TCXs. One is watching Lars van der Haar. He was the first person, I think, to win on disc brakes in the World Cup. And I don't know if the first World Cup he won was Valkenburg or not, but that's the memory that sticks in my head. And watching him go down those sort of iconic Valkenburg chutes, and just flying into it, because he had disc brakes. He could actually stop at the bottom of them, I don't, lots of people probably don't even remember cantilevers on cross, but I started out my career on them, and it was like, I couldn't go back and ride on them now. They're scary. It's terrifying. But seeing van der Haar fly down that Valkenburg descent and be able to actually be in control and brake, I was like, oh, this is the future. And then the other memory is I remember doing Jingle Cross with Adam Craig and seeing him nose wheelie around those switchbacks because of the disc brakes. And you're like, okay, this is actually something that's going to take off. It's not a fad in cyclocross. This is the way forward for our sport. And those are just really memories that stick in my head when I think about the TCX and sort of think about Giant being willing to push things forward and maybe like step into places where the other big companies were like, oh, I don't think that's going to work. We'll wait to see what happens. And I think other elements of that bike have sort of followed along too. Just they've been willing to push things a little bit and make this a pure race bike that has the best available.
So you started the season, 2019 season, on our older TCX Advanced Pro, and then as you progressed through the year, your custom painted bike was pretty awesome looking. But then as you made the trip to Europe, you were one of the first people to get your hands on the all-new TCX. What were the major differences you found between last year's model and the new model that you've been riding?
Yeah, so I loved the 2019 TCX right away. Like it's kind of a weird compliment, but to say that I got on the bike and it felt good right away is pretty big for me. The last thing I want to be doing in a race is thinking about, oh, how does this bike handle differently than what I'm used to, or how do I have to think about going through this corner? It just, I got on it and it just kind of worked, and that's the best thing I can say. But when I got the 2021, the first thing I noticed is picking it up is it's significantly lighter. Probably half a pound lighter. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but you can pick it up and realize how big of a difference that is right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then getting on the bike, that lighter weight combined with the stiffness, it just takes off the second you step on it. It's great. The other big thing I think that people overlook with the TCX slots is the defuse seat post. I think people underestimate how important compliance is in a cross race, but having that defuse just means it flexes a little bit more. I mean, my sport's pretty much pedaling over bumpy ground for an hour, so having that extra compliance that the defuse gives by providing that flex without requiring any funny gimmicks and any like elastomer things, it's a noticeable difference at the end of the race, and it's not something that I need to worry about falling apart.
Yeah. So we made a few changes to the new model over the current model. You already mentioned the lightweightness, the design of the frame set alone, the down tube giving the ability to clear more dirt when you're grabbing the bike, also the flatter top tube, and then the compliance you built into both the frame itself. So is there any key factors that you found once you got to Europe and you had the ability to try the new prototype bike that instantly you noticed that made a big difference to your performance?
For sure. One of the things you mentioned there is they changed the seat clamp on the defuse, and they moved it probably 3 or 4 inches down. And because the seat post flexed already, it's just allowing more of that natural flex and making the bike even more compliant than it already was, which is, like I said before, hugely important. Besides that, everything as far as stiffness goes is beefed up a little bit. I mean, the bike already had great tire clearance, and they continued with that. And then one of the most frustrating things for me as a cross racer is when I see a cross bike and it has a super sloping top tube, I go, well, how are you going to shoulder that? And one of the nice things about the TCX is it's a pure cross bike, almost flat top tube, standard geometry as far as that goes, and it makes it so easy. And I noticed this right away when I was throwing the bike on my shoulder for a run up. There's so much room that I'm not going to clip my elbow on the cranks every time I'm trying to do a run up.
So now that we've provided you with the perfect bike, how's your training preparing for going forward? This is a very uncertain time for a lot of people. We don't know if we're going racing yet or not, but what are you doing to be ready and prepared for that?
Yeah, I wish I could say I knew exactly what was going to happen this fall. I wish I could say I knew I was going to be racing in November, but the reality is I don't. But I'm certainly training as if I was. My ambition, my hope is that things will be safe to go to Europe in November and I will be able to race, but there's a very real possibility that that doesn't happen. But either way, I don't want this to be a lost season as far as cross training goes. There's always opportunity to keep on pushing my technical skills, to keep on pushing some of my limiters. And I've trying to take this last little while and this next couple months moving forward to do some of that stuff so that whether I'm going back to racing in November or whether it's not until next September, I'm coming at it from a better place than I was before. So I can jump into sort of the next echelon of the World Cup, into the top 15 as opposed to the top 30, something like that.
So, like, obviously people know you as a cyclocross racer. You are also a gravel rider as well, very accomplished gravel rider at that. Have you found that switching from gravel to cross is difficult? Because obviously the differences between certain bikes. And do you think that there is a need for a gravel bike and a need for a cross bike?
Yeah, for sure. They're different bikes. They're absolutely different bikes. Some of that comes down to just running the really big 40C tires, but even when you look at how the geometry is on a gravel bike, a little bit slacked out, a little bit lower BB, a little bit longer wheelbase overall, all that stuff adds up to make for a more comfortable bike on long rides. And maybe that doesn't matter for half an hour, but when you're looking at like a 6-hour gravel race or a 12-hour gravel race, being on that really, really stable platform is an absolute must. Then of course there's the extra things like some extra bottle bosses to fit 3 bottles, stuff like that's also important. And one of the things that I like that Giant has done is I think there's been lots of companies that will go, hey, we're just gonna make one bike and it's kind of a cross bike, it's kind of a gravel bike. And that's okay, but when I'm looking at it, this thing is a Ferrari, it's a pure race machine, and that's what I need to compete at the highest level. Gravel bike you might be able to do a cross bike on, but it's just not going to respond the same way. It's not going to be as snappy. So I'm really happy that Giant's sort of being, nope, these are different things, we're doing very different stuff, we're riding different terrain. You're not riding ruts on a gravel bike, and you're probably not riding a twisty gravel descent on a cross bike. So we can sort of optimize both these platforms for what they're meant for.
So what's Michael's long-term goal in regards to cyclocross? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
Yeah, my goal is to, the Fayetteville World Championships are coming up in 2021, 2022. Anyways, Fayetteville World Championships are coming up, and my goal is to get a top 10 there. Seems a little bit ambitious, a little bit audacious, but I've always done well setting high watermarks for myself and then trying to chase them down. And then regardless of whether that happens or not, I'll keep on finding the next goal to keep pushing. I don't think there's any such thing as mastering what you're doing. You're always just trying to keep on getting a little bit better and always looking for improvement. So whatever I'm doing, I'm just trying to reach my limits and figure out what those are.
Awesome. In 2019, we started a partnership with the Eastern Giant team. and you're a part of the management team there. What is the goal of that team, and what are you trying to achieve?
So our big, just like my own personal goals, we have Fayetteville circled in the calendar. We're trying to set up our athletes. So we have myself, American Junior Bridget Tooley, and then we have a couple other people on the management side, set us up to be as successful as possible. I know that Bridget's really ambitious. She wants a great result at Fayetteville. I want a big result at Fayetteville. So those are goals. And then we also have the objective of giving other young riders something to look at and something to go, hey, maybe I can race on that team one day. Or look what they did. You know, Michael needed a team, so he started a team. Maybe I can do that, and maybe I can take my fate into my own hands that way. And whatever option they choose, hopefully we're giving people a path forward. Because cyclocross is a tough sport. There's not a lot of big teams available for our young riders. But if they can look at what I'm able to do and look at what other riders on our team are able to do and go, yeah, like, why can't I do that? That's a win for us. Like, I hope that one day when I'm done my racing career, I'm able to look at the juniors and the U23s that I raced against when I was racing and see what they're doing in Europe and have them totally crush whatever I did there. You know, I want to see them getting top 10s, them to be on the World Cup podiums, and if I have a little part in sort of showing them the way to that, that's success to me.
And then what tips do you have for the weekend racer? The guy who's taking his TCX out on a Sunday morning to race against his friends, whether it's in a junior category, an elite category, or just just out there for fun. What tips do you have for those guys?
Yeah, my tip, especially right now, is to ride your bike. Like, ride your cross bike. Don't just stick to the roads. Ride your cross bike in the woods. Make yourself a cyclocross training loop and get really familiar with how that works, because you can save a little bit of time by getting really, really fit, but you can save a lot of time on course if you're comfortable on your bike. And I work as a coach as well with CycleSmart, and I work with a lot of athletes. And one of the things that I'm pushing all the time is, like, just spend time on your cross bike. Spend more time than you think you need on your cross bike, because that's the low-hanging fruit. You can pick up so much time on a lap by doing that.
Perfect. Well, Michael, thank you very much for sharing all this information with us. We really look forward to seeing you guys racing this year, hopefully, and if not, next season. If you want any more information on Michael, make sure you follow him on Facebook and Instagram, and you can check out the all-new TCX product on our website. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.